Welcome to Aspire with Osha, a program about art, nature, and humanity. I'm your host, Osha Hayden. Now here's the question I'll be asking. What is the future you want to create? Stay tuned for some fascinating interviews with my guests who are dedicated to creating a more positive future.
La mer qu'on voit danser le long des golfes clairs.
Hello, Sonoma. This is your host, Osha Hayden. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Well, we have a couple of really wonderful guests for you today. They are from Sonoma State University, from the Center for Environmental Inquiry. We have Suzanne DeCoursey, who's the education coordinator or manager. And we have Anne Reeves, who is the marketing person. So we are going to talk a little bit about the environmental programs that they are involved in. And it's pretty rich and pretty diverse. And I think you'll enjoy this show. We're going to have some stories for you, and it should be really entertaining. So welcome, Anne and Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the Center for Environmental Inquiry at SSU.
Well, probably I should kick that off. This is Anne speaking, and I'm marketing and brand strategist. So I've been working for the center for just over 3 years now. And we've really honed our message. Basically, it's a North Bay working together to find sustainable solutions. So we're working with faculty, students, community partners, business partners to solve the North Bay's environmental challenges. So it's all about connection with nature and working together to solve our environmental challenges. So if we don't have a healthy planet, then we also cannot be healthy. And that's what we would like to motivate everybody to do.
That's excellent. Excellent. So it's a very collaborative program that you're involved in there.
Oh, it is. And we have a great team working on all fronts. And it's headed up by the director, Dr. Claudia Luke, who is very much of an entrepreneur, actually. She's developed many creative things for us, and we work together as a team. And it really is, Suzanne is my wonderful partner in the office, which we're not in the office now, but I've learned so much about the preserves and how she works with students and how the value of that in the work that we do. Because the students are our future. They are the ones we're empowering to go out and help in solving these environmental challenges.
Right, because they're going to inherit the planet from us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and they will, in their turn, be our community. So it certainly isn't just about the students. It's very much about they're interacting, they're working with the community, they're working with the businesses, and we're working on real projects to solve our environmental challenges. So it is very real, the work we do. We're giving them knowledge and skills and real projects.
That's wonderful. So Suzanne, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you work with the students and interns and all the people that you're working with?
Absolutely. As Anne mentioned, we're really focused on environmental readiness for all. So empowering people from all backgrounds and all disciplines as well. Sometimes when people hear about the Center for Environmental Inquiry, they think, oh, it's just for people with a science background. It's just for folks who are going into careers having to do with the environment. And of course, as Anne mentioned, we're all intimately in relationship with the environment. In fact, we are not outside of nature. We only, unfortunately, have the language that we can use, which makes it sound like there's a distinction, but there's not. We're very much a part of nature. And so that means that we have students from all parts of the university not just from the natural sciences or STEM fields, but also students in arts, in the liberal arts, in music, in psychology, in marketing, and in communications. In some ways, I get to do the most fun part of these jobs because I get to work directly with students, and I can see how they transform and how they become more environmentally ready. I have, many stories students come back and report how they plan to use what they learn and move forward into their life with it. Not just their careers, although they report that they would like to do that too, but that they want to share their passion with others and that they want to, in turn, help create other folks who are environmentally ready as well.
That's fantastic. So I love the fact that you're bringing students from all different fields into the environmental program, because really the environment is something that we're all intimately connected to. It's nice that you're bringing it in through the education, through all of the different disciplines.
And actually, can I just pop in there and say a word?
Sure.
That human connection with nature is evident in our visual imagery. If you look at our branding, Osha, I know you looked at our website, you can see every image that we develop each year is all about connecting with the environment, because if you can't feel the connection, then you really can't get engaged in the solutions either. So it's really about that connection. So the visual imagery that's on the report, the website, our social media, that's a link that carries through.
Yeah, and I love on one of the images you have some hands holding a nest.
That's right.
Nest, and then the background is green like leaves, so it could be the tree that the nest it came from.
Yes, it's about giving the idea and not showing it too literally, but it's really coming up with an image that is representative of that concept. And then 1, 2, that can carry across in different formats, because if you've got a recognizable image, then it catches people's attention. And also it's the cohesive link between all of the different elements. So that's why it's important, because it gets attention and people remember it.
The imagery that you put together, the nest and the hands and that connection to nature. Suzanne, tell us more about how you work with the students, the interns.
Yes, as I said, that is one of my favorite parts of my job, because I see how, students start out as being a little tentative and really blossom. And the way that I work with the students is I've created training programs where basically we bring students from, again, all backgrounds and all disciplines. There are no prerequisites. You do not have to come in with any kind of specialized environmental knowledge or any science knowledge, any knowledge of how to communicate or, any of the skills that the students will put to use. And we basically use the environment or the natural world as a teaching tool, because what folks don't quite realize is bringing people outside automatically primes the brain to learn. So students come in, we give them a community relationship with themselves in the natural world. We give them the opportunity to be out on the preserves and to be trained in skills that then they will use on these real world projects. And we also give them a socially supportive environment so that they can then meet the challenges that they'll be facing. After the students go through the training process, depending on which program they're in, they either teach 3rd through 5th graders or members of the general public on the SSU preserves. So they lead people on tours and try to awaken our visitors and help them become environmentally ready. Or they do environmental restoration projects with our partner agencies. So these are projects that are out at Bodega Marine Reserve, which is a reserve owned by UC Davis out on the coast, Annandale State Park, so we work with the state parks, and Occidental Arts and Ecology Center, a nonprofit, again, to the west of SSU, where students get to put their skills to practice, removing invasive species, helping to, create areas for visitors to move through. So, for instance, trail work. And again, this is a way to engage in these real world practices. And it's so interesting to hear them talk about their experiences, because some people will come in and they'll just be so nervous. I can't possibly speak to members of the public. Am I going to forget everything I know? And again, they just, I'll use this word again, they just blossom, because, at the end of the season, they'll say, I can't believe what I was able to do. My ability to communicate with people about environmental readiness, I just feel like I've come into my own. And a lot of people, again, report that they really want to bring these skills forward into their life and into their career. I had a student say he almost kept crashing his bike because he kept looking at everything that was growing on the side of the road and using his skills to identify them and ask questions about the different species. A student who wanted to be a planner said that she would make sure that when city planners make decisions, they'll keep natural resources as part of their top priorities. They really do get inspired, and they really do, move forward not just with their own environmental readiness, but with a passion to share that with others and help others become environmentally ready too.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's so you get to see the transformation of these students.
I do. Like I said, that's one of the most rewarding parts of my job, and it's also quite rewarding when students return. Many of them will stay in the area or return to the area and work with other local environmental organizations. In fact, we have one student who co-founded his own nonprofit to help reach out to the Spanish-speaking community. It's called Crecer Conciencia. So again, that's just it was a wonderful transformation to see. He started out as so soft-spoken, it was hard to pry 2 words out of him, and now he's working for a local environmental organization. He got his graduate degree. He co-founded a nonprofit to help others, again, connect with the natural world and become environmentally ready. And that's very, very rewarding.
Yes, and he's actually a champion of the environment now. So he wasn't just influenced, but he's going on to influence others. And that's really what we're all about.
Right. So you train a few, and those few go out and train more, who go out and train more. And that is really, that's how you create a movement, isn't it? Really create some lasting change.
Yes, because we really are trying to make a difference to the planet.
Yeah. And I was thinking about, when you were first talking about how they have a classroom outside and they're getting connected to nature while they are learning, and how that really primes their minds for better learning. I can imagine also just being in nature, how it's so calming. And so without the anxiety that interferes in the learning process, I would think that it's an ideal learning environment.
You are absolutely correct, Osha, and there's been some very interesting research that's come out about this. And in fact, the students themselves will report things like, I feel less stressed. Sometimes they'll say things which I find very entertaining, because I had one student say, "This is so much better than school." And I said, this is school. Literally, students are getting academic credit to do this, but it feels so different to them that they don't even connect it to learning environments that they've been in previously. And you're absolutely right that there's a lot of research that shows that folks who are in these sometimes called productively relaxing environments, where your parasympathetic systems being activated, and so your levels of cortisol go down. There's been a few experiments that actually show that happens in nature, that it's a lot easier to learn and to retain your learning as well. And, because if you were to ask a student, would you want to be in school for, one class for 8 hours a day solidly? Because that's what our trainings, that's how long they last. They would say, of course not. That sounds awful. But it's effortless when you get to spend time in these wonderful, enriching environments that really help you learn and again, really help you kind of become environmentally ready and be really interested in sharing that with others as well.
We need to go to a quick break, so we'll take a moment, and thank you all for listening in. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a minute. Thank you for staying with us. I'm here with CEI, the Center for Environmental Inquiry. I have Anne Reeves and Suzanne DeCoursey in the studio, the virtual studio actually, with me today. And we're talking about the Center for Environmental Inquiry and the incredible work that they are doing. So my next question is something I've been curious about. And we were talking about how relaxing it is and what a wonderful environment it is to be out in nature. And now, since the pandemic has changed everything, how is that affecting your program?
Oh, well, thank you for that wonderful question. Actually, the first thing, we had to really pivot very quickly. So first of all, we thought about, well, what does our community need from us? How can we help them at this time? And so one of the things we do is we have our real events, but we pivoted to virtual. And we created wonderful new events. So Suzanne will go into that a little bit more, but before we do, another thing we needed to do was respond to our community and to our donors. And so straight away in that first week, we got out a letter to our donors, volunteers, all of our participants, expressing our concern, how we're looking after the community and also our staff and all working from home. And also that we would be going to virtual versus our live events. So we really did get very creative in all of the things we did. And it's been, I have to say, it's been a wonderful experience. So Suzanne, maybe you want to talk a bit more about those events, because I know you've been intimately involved and you actually hosted one of them.
Yes, thank you, Anne. I agree. It's been wonderful to see how our staff and our volunteers have really stepped up to the challenge. I would also like to mention here that our wonderful outreach program lead, Carrie Winninger, did a tremendous job putting together a ton of public programs. These would have, as Anne mentioned, been events that would have been held on the SSU preserves themselves, but they became digital events. And it was actually fantastic because so many people could join. There's no real limit in terms of numbers. Some events had hundreds of participants, which of course you couldn't have in a physical, on a physical trail. And of course, anyone who might say have mobility issues or live in a different, part of the United States who wouldn't have been able to come to a physical event was able to join us for digital events. So we had a number of events, which you can find on our website, cei.sonoma.edu. If you go into the calendar, you will see them listed. You can also see recordings of all the past digital events that we did this season. So if you missed an event that you're really excited about, please go in and look for that. I'd also like to mention, we were just talking about how, interested the students and our naturalists are at spreading this message of environmental readiness. We had some of our community member naturalists actually step up and host events too. So as Anne mentioned, I hosted an event which was one of about one of my favorite topics, the benefits of the outdoors and how great it is to get outside. But we also had naturalist volunteers who would, under different circumstances, be leading tours, actually step up and host their own events too, so they could reach, a wide variety of audiences, sometimes different audiences. We had a wonderful student naturalist teach some of the skills that he has learned and share some of his experiences as a naturalist. We've had some of our community members, naturalists, also do events. And that actually brings me around to, I've been talking a lot about the students, but we work with people of all ages. And in fact, one of the things that I like most is that we connect students not only to the 3rd through 5th graders and members of the general public, but we connect them to people who are from the community who go through our community naturalist training program. So they get to lead tours together. So a student and a community member gets to pair up and learn from each other. The community members have told me it keeps them young. There's nothing like being out on the landscape with an excited, enthusiastic college student to make you feel young again and make you feel, vital and useful and able to contribute. And of course, the students get the wonderful experience of learning from folks who have more life experience. So after the pivot to digital, we were still able to bring those folks in and give them opportunities to learn more, to share more, and in some cases to either participate in these digital events or even host digital events themselves.
And Suzanne, let me say there, I was so glad that you mentioned that point about making the community, maybe the older participants that do our events, how it makes them feel young, because that's exactly it. It's all about that, what are the benefits for our community? And that is one of the benefits. And then also their learning skills, which they can apply. I think some of the events talked about, well, go look in your own backyard. Here's how you can practically apply that skill. And then another thing I should say, as far as we had to get the word out about these events. So we did very fast. We had to do a lot of social media, email marketing, getting the word out about these events and striking the right tone too, because people don't want to be deluged with stuff. Everybody's feeling stressed. You go through phases with this pandemic. At first, you're in shock, and then maybe a little anger, and finally acceptance, I think. So having empathy, striking the right tone, and keeping the events, I think they're a little shorter too, aren't they, Suzanne? So they wouldn't be the length. So actually they're more doable too. So there's a lot of things we've done, which I've heard from Kerry and Margot and Ben actually, that we may continue on for our future events. We've done a lot of learning, which has been great.
And you have another one of these virtual events coming up. When is it? Not this Friday?
29th. Yeah, I think it's 29th. Friday 29th.
29th.
Yeah.
Want to tell us about that one?
Actually, Suzanne, maybe you do. I know I was thinking of doing it. Do you know the leader?
Yes. I would love to talk more about this event, because this is actually one of our wonderful community member naturalists who is sharing his love of the natural world, and especially his ability to go out and tell stories and share stories about the natural world. He has been leading tours for us for a number of years, and actually leads tours for a number of organizations, and is a well-known expert in many areas in this region. It's wonderful to see him work when he's out on the trail with a group, because he just weaves all this amazing, wonderful knowledge. So sometimes when people hear the word storytelling, they think, it's frou-frou, not, nothing to do with science. But these are stories that, of course, have wonderful science tidbits in them, but they're couched in a narrative fashion, which, as we know, is one of the best ways for humans to learn. So he is sharing the skill of storytelling. He's sharing some of his stories, and he's helping people create their own stories, which are stories that, of course, we hope help people become environmentally ready. And as I mentioned before, that's something we see in our own programs, and that's something that people move forward with their own stories to help other people become environmentally ready too. So I certainly hope that folks can join the event. I'm really looking forward to it. And as I mentioned earlier, if you absolutely can't make it during the time that's listed on the website, go back and it will be posted. The recording will be posted so that you can see the video of the event if you can't actually make it to the live event. But I hope folks can make it to the live event too.
I think that's
nice.
I think it's from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the 29th.
And what's the title of it?
Do you know the title? You know, we'll look it up and we will get back to you before the end of the program.
All right. But so people should go to cei.sonoma.edu.
Yes.
And if you look, it would be under the calendar. Is that right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Look under the calendar and you can see it. I looked at it and I thought it looked really fascinating and interesting. I thought, yeah, I want to do that.
And also, I should note that as Suzanne is speaking, it's funny because I'm laughing here because she's got her environmentally ready t-shirt on and I've got mine on. So we are literally a representation of the brand. she's doing the right thing, and as you notice, she's even saying environmentally ready. So maybe in our last segment we can talk a little bit about that, because it has taken us a lot to actually get to this very simple statement, and we're looking that event up for you. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, and I know that the listeners won't be able to see your t-shirts, but I can see them.
Oh, here it is. It's Friday, May 29th. It's 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And it's called Learn with a Naturalist, Storytelling in Nature. And as Suzanne, it talks about the essence of human communication and breathing life and meaning into environmental facts. So
nice.
It sounds really wonderful, actually.
It does. Will you be continuing these into the fall as well?
We will start up again in the fall. Usually we're quiet in the summer, but actually it's a new norm. So I don't know, maybe we will have events during the summer. And actually they're more doable now because they are virtual.
This is an example of the creativity that happens when we're pushed up against a wall. The creativity just flourishes and we just kind of climb up the wall and spill over the wall and find new ways, new paths.
Yes, I'd like to just quickly follow up on that, on what Anne mentioned, because there will be events into the beginning of June. Then there will be some events that start up again later in the summer or in the fall. You can always go see the recordings of events that were done, and there have been a tremendous number, probably more events than we've ever done during a season. I also just want to follow up just a little bit with the title Learn with a Naturalist, because again, our wonderful outreach lead, Carrie Winninger, came up with a number of fantastic categories for these events. And Learn with a Naturalist is informal, so it's a discussion. You'll be able to go outside yourself at some point during the event so that you yourself can, think about how to tell stories or gather materials for your own story. So some of these are more lecture-based, like with an expert that you might consider if you went to see someone give a lecture about a certain science topic with a PowerPoint. Those are called deep dives, but we also have Learn with a Naturalist. We have Local Nature, which consists of live presentations and local nature explorations. also citizen science primers where you can learn to collect data and perform analysis from your own home, again, to help contribute to environmental readiness, because you will literally be sharing data that can be used by scientists to help solve these problems, environmental problems. Also, professional trainings where you can get certifications and professional skills. So there are lots of different types of these digital events, and you can, choose what works best for you.
Oh, so it sounds like you've got a whole menu of options there.
Yes, absolutely. And there are also options for people of all ages, of different ages. Some of these, obviously are more tailored toward folks who would, like I said, be interested in a lecture from an expert on the science topic, but some of them, for instance, we had an event where someone showed folks how to make wildlife habitat in their own backyard. So how to make nesting places for wild bees, how to provide other types of materials for wildlife. And people of all ages joined that event and had a great time putting all of those together. It's not limited to anyone of a particular age.
And Suzanne, wouldn't you say there's something, because there's a lot of different environmental organizations putting on events right now. So what is it about ours that makes ours different?
So I would say, in general, some of the differences that distinguish us are the fact that people get to learn from SSU students. So there's a connection with higher education. That's something I hear from our visitors, where it's not just there's someone who knows information and they convey it, but they get to interact with the university. And our students, especially when they teach 3rd through 5th graders, they help demystify the college experience for those younger visitors. I've had teachers say, my students they didn't know anybody who'd ever been to college. This was not something that they thought applied to them at all. And then they would, interact with our SSU students who, again, are from all disciplines and all backgrounds. And they'd say, this doesn't seem so scary now. And the teachers would say, suddenly my students started talking about going to college. That suddenly became something that was on their radar. And it's also particularly helpful for students to see people who look like them. Our SSU students, again, come from all backgrounds. And so the younger visitors can see, wow, it's not just people who, look a certain way or come from a certain background. I can do this too, and I can be environmentally ready too, and I can go to college, and I can have these skills, and I am welcome in these spaces.
The community members that are participating, they actually have an opportunity to meet the professors, don't they?
Yes, I spent a while talking about the SSU students, but of course, anyone who's interacting with us also gets a chance to learn from experts at the university who are faculty members as well.
Wonderful. Let's take a short break for announcements, and then we'll be back very soon with the Center for Environmental Inquiry and Suzanne DeCoursey and Anne Reeves. So just in case you're just now tuning in, we're here with the Center for Environmental Inquiry from Sonoma State University. I have Suzanne DeCoursey and Anne Reeves on the phone, and we're having a wonderful discussion about nature, and there's a lot of inspiration going on around here.
Thank you.
So I did want to ask you something about some of the ways that you directly contribute to Sonoma County. And one of the things that I noticed on your website and your materials is that on the preserve, the Osborne Preserve, you have some towers that were able to real-time monitor the Kincaid fire and help the firefighters. Am I getting that right? You want to say more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Suzanne, you want to?
Yes, I would love to. Absolutely. And that is a wonderful project that brings together what we can contribute to the community and also real world experience for students, because students were involved in helping prep the site for the tower and, with the project. But yes, we are part of the Wildfire Alert System. So this is a system of cameras throughout Sonoma County that is specifically there to, as you mentioned, Osha, monitor wildfires. And in fact, you can visit, if you go to our website, again, cei.sonoma.edu, and click on the data link, which would be on the left-hand navigation menu, you can actually see those cameras in real time. So if you wanted to see what it looked like on the top of Sonoma Mountain right now, you could do that, and you would see an image from that camera. But it is there to protect Sonoma County from wildfires, and fire personnel can basically use those cameras to see, where fires break out, exactly where they are, have a better sense of where to send personnel to make sure that they're protecting lives and property.
So how do the towers work exactly? They have cameras, and are they monitoring air or some other kind of data?
They're mainly producing the imagery. Now, we do have other types of technology on the SSU preserves, and I'm glad you brought that up because, again, people, think of the preserves or these opportunities as just for folks engaged in the natural sciences, but there are a number of computer science and engineering professionals, faculty, and students working on other types of projects at the SSU preserves. So we have weather towers that are collecting various types of weather data. We also have wildlife cameras that are collecting wonderful photos of all the animals that that will pass in front of them. So that provides us with a lot of good information. And you can also find links to those. So you can see the bear that came up to the camera at the Galbraith Preserve and knocked it off the tree. And so those are also opportunities for, again, professionals who might not be in the natural sciences to give back to the community, to get real world experience, and to work with faculty and experts at SSU.
And the real world benefit of something like that too is being able to prevent the spread of a fire by getting the personnel immediately out there, because you're seeing it and monitoring it real time.
And that's the folks, right, Suzanne, that all of them are real world. So we really, Dr. Claudia Luke, she is in the community and she's interacting with different businesses and agencies. She's looking for projects where we can make a valuable contribution. She brings those projects to faculty, who then she will get the funds and get them working on those projects. So they are real projects that we're working on. It's not just having experiences, they're doing real work.
Yes. And actually, I'd like to mention, we talked about the wildfire alert camera system on the Osborne Preserve, but the projects aren't limited to projects on the preserves themselves. We've already talked about how we've brought what we do forward into the digital realm, but there have been projects that benefit the community off the preserves throughout the time that we've been here, that we've been the Center for Environmental Inquiry. And just to give you an example, we had students working under the direction of our nature tech lead, Chris Hawley, who developed an air quality monitoring station that is being installed at Rohnert Park City Hall. So this is, something that those of us with asthma are very concerned about, and we want to know what the air quality is like on any particular day. So that's something that, again, students, experts, faculty, and staff from the center, in order to not just become environmentally ready themselves, but to help other folks have the data and have the information to learn more about the environmental issues that we face and to come up with solutions. They now have the data that will help them do that.
You can see, Osha, why Suzanne is such a wonderful partner, because if ever I have a question, I have my valuable resource right there.
Right, she's your walking knowledge base.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
And much friendlier than a computer, right?
Oh, totally.
And not much nicer to look at too, I will say.
If ever I've got a question, or because, I come from a different background. I come from outside, having run a design business. And Suzanne is so well versed in the university, in the environment, and has such a wonderful connection with the students. So it's been great for me. If I had not have had the advantage of having Suzanne, I couldn't have got up to speed as fast as I did.
Right now, we're actually on a Zoom call and we're recording it. So we can see each other, but we're not anywhere near being in the same room.
But it feels like it. Zoom
It does.
actually has been great. And all of our meetings, we went straight to Zoom. Literally, I think it was the second day that I was working from my home office. I was having my meetings via Zoom, and it's almost as if the person is there. I'm working on 2 computers. I've got my Google Drive and documents going, and we're working on the annual report right now, and it's all moving forward. I just miss my actual seeing people, but aside from that, I do feel like I can see them virtually. So it really helps.
I agree. And I would like to, and I'm not just saying nice things about Anne because she said nice things about me, but I would like to mention that, you know, having Anne help us with our marketing and branding strategy has been tremendous because, you know, I can talk about these projects and I can share about them, but just the visual materials that she's put together has really helped get the word out, not just to the community, but even to other folks in the university. I had some vision boards that Anne developed, with, you know, coming from my background, I did not even know what a vision board was, but they looked beautiful, and I put them up at an event that we were holding at the university, and other people from the university from other departments were coming by and saying, wow, these are wonderful. This really attracts people to come over here, and some folks hadn't even really heard of the center. So it's been fantastic to see what Anne brought to the center to really help us hone our message and get it out to people and really make them aware of what both we have to offer and how folks can be involved themselves in becoming environmentally ready.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was wonderful. And I didn't even prep you for that. But those vision boards that Suzanne talked about, those are actually taken from our annual report covers. Every year we produce an annual report. I'm working on the 4th one now. And we develop an image that is that human connection with nature. It's very graphic. And that becomes our visual branding, as it were, that goes across the report, our posters, the vision boards, and also social media and the website, everything we do. So those same boards, they're very light, the ones that are used at events, but we also had 3 pictures printed onto wood, reclaimed wood, so they're sustainable, and they're quite thick and heavy, and those are mounted in the director's office. So they set the tone whenever she has any meetings and anybody walks in, they see those they're about 20 by 30, and it really sets the tone. So that's what we try to do. You're trying to set the tone, get attention, and have people remember you. That's why visuals are so important. And unfortunately on the radio, you can't see them, but they're also my Zoom background.
Well, you know, one of the things that I know that I had heard is that Sonoma County is considered the greenest county in all of California. I don't know if that's still true or not, but that's one thing that I heard, that we're up there in terms of being green.
I think we are. Yeah, no, it's the most beautiful place that I think I have ever been. And you can probably hear from my accent, I originally come from England, but I've been here more than 30 years. And I can honestly say it's as beautiful, if not more so, than the southern part of England where I come from.
Go on to cei.sonoma.edu. They can have a look at the website and see some of those images and learn more about the work that you guys are doing, because it's substantial. It's so nice to have a university like Sonoma State University here that is so conscious of the environment and actively bringing the environmental intelligence and wisdom through all of the programs. And I guess that's really your doing at the Center for Environmental Inquiry, correct?
Yes, Claudia Luke is actually the Director of Sustainability as well for the campus, and the president signed the commitment to, what is that called officially, Suzanne? It's to sustainability everything we're doing on campus is sustainable. So we're gradually, we had a big signing ceremony last year. Claudia Luke, since she's heading that, she spoke at that, and we're gradually implementing it. So it's really, the whole campus is becoming sustainable, and the center is a very important part of that.
Right.
So it's really great. We're in the right place at the right time, and the students are very environmentally conscious.
You have conferences there too at the university on the environment. There was something my husband went to some years ago, and he found it to be very exciting because there were so many different aspects of the program, and the professors were there.
We had a big one last year. Yes, conferences there.
Yeah.
A lot of prominent, like we have the economic forecast report with Robert Eiler, but we did do a sustainability one, and Judith Ford, she is working with Claudia on sustainability. She spoke at that. So the university is doing a lot. Within 1 year, we've actually achieved a lot along the path of sustainability.
This is something my listeners might be interested in knowing. I mean, I know a lot of people are very concerned about the fire season and the power shutoffs and all of that sort of thing. I know personally we're getting solar put on our roof in about a month. How does the work that you're doing help Sonoma become a place where you can continue to live and prosper and not have to worry about wildfires?
Oh, those are all, that is some of the learning and the workshops that we do. But then also this particular conference that was held, there were a couple actually, and one of them dealt with fire specifically.
Nice.
I should try and look that up while we're on the air.
Yeah, we have just maybe a minute left.
Oh, okay.
So
in that conference, we did bring fire experts together to speak
wonderful
about wildfires and the urban interface and solutions. So how people could take action. So we usually sponsor something like that. So we're extremely involved in coming up with solutions for the community.
Becoming fire ready. You know, the thing that stands out to me is through this whole pandemic, and as stressful as it's been, you see the creativity and the collaboration just spiking and peaking in a wonderful, wonderful way. And that gives me hope that by working together, even when there are, rather large challenges that we're facing, that we still have the ability to overcome and to prevail and to empower ourselves and each other to do this beautiful work and make this the most amazing place to be.
You couldn't have said it any better, Osha, because
Thank you.
It is about working together. That's why we're working, it takes students, faculty, community, businesses, all working together to solve our environmental challenges.
It takes collaboration, and I think that is the make it or break it for humanity, is can we work together and support each other and collaborate and cooperate, or are we going to wage war against each other and fight? And if we choose the former, if we choose the collaboration, the cooperation, our ability to get through the challenges just goes exponentially up. So I want to thank you both for coming on the show today and hanging in there through the technical issues. And I appreciate it so much. You have so much to offer to the listeners and to this community. And for my listeners, thank you for tuning in today. As you go through the week, have an inspired week and live your joy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Osha. It was fun.
Thank you, Osha.